We all know that every Anderson vehicle is packed with 40,000 tons of TNT. So, as cool as they are to see in their entirety, it's often cooler to see them destroyed.
Yes, it is. That's true.
Most obviously, the Space 1999 Eagles were regularly crashed, trashed and exploded, but also Spectrum lost quite a few of their vehicles, as did Shadow, and so on and so on and so on.
Yep.
Lots of big bangs in the Gerry Anderson universe. But then there are other vehicles like Supercar, Fireball XL5, and Stingray, which feel a bit more special, a bit more precious, perhaps.
They do, yeah.
They are the title vehicle, which almost makes them a character in their own right. And the thought of destroying them just feels plain wrong.
Imagine.
Unless you were a writer of TV21 in the late 1960s, of course.
What?
Ah, yes. One of those iconic 3 vehicles was actually destroyed, blown to bits, for real, in the pages of the classic comic.
Crikey.
I know. So, when TV 20th Century 1 launched in January 1965, the 2 Star Anderson strips it carried were, of course, as you well know, Richard James, Stingray and Fireball XL5.
Fireball XL5, yes, that's right.
Both in glorious colour.
Indeed.
Supercar was in there for a while too, but it wasn't for very long, and it wasn't part of the sort of shared continuity of the comic, the early iterations of the Anderverse.
Oh.
So as the years rolled by, the arrivals of Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and Zero X gradually pushed Stingray and XL5 out of the comic. Boo-hoo, some might say.
Indeed.
So first they would go from full colour back to black and white. Then they just become text stories, and finally, those strips would disappear altogether.
Huh.
Sad. But that is how, in March 1968, Fireball XL5 finally left the comic as a text story in issue 167 titled Grounded. I'm saying that way because there's an exclamation mark at the end of the title.
Right.
So, Grounded, in which Fireball XL5 itself was blown to pieces by an enemy attack.
Oh.
Sad.
Wow.
Not only that, but one of the show's most beloved characters may have been on board at the time.
What?
No, Richard, it wasn't Zuni.
Oh, you said beloved, didn't you?
Yeah. It was Robert the Robot.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yes, really. So in this story, Robert is mentioned as being on board Fireball XL5, serving as co-pilot during the mission in which it's destroyed, but is suspiciously not mentioned as being with Steve, Matt and Venus when they abandoned ship in Fireball Jr.
Left at the controls.
Well, or in the main body, I suppose. In fact, when they crash Fireball Jr. on a nearby asteroid and discuss the possibility of surviving baddies attacking them, Steve says, "There's 3 of them and 3 of us," meaning Steve, Matt, and Venus.
Well, did no one mention Robbie at all? Robert the Robot at all? No one said, well, what about... Hang on.
It looks like their faithful robot friend, who would have been quite handy in that fight, doesn't even get a mention.
Charming.
The trio eventually made it back to Earth, where Commander Zero promised that a new Fireball XL5 would be built, but still Robert was not mentioned. It looks like the author probably just forgot to mention him, but if that's the case, it's a rather unfortunate story to do that in, and presumably many readers were wondering what happened to Robert and if he was destroyed with the ship.
Oh, no.
The following week, the XL5 stories were replaced by Project Sword, so it looked like Robert's fate was going to remain a mystery. But 4 months later, in issue 184, TV21 gave us an update on how construction of the new XL5 was progressing and even published a photo of Robert 2.
Oh.
This new robot looked exactly the same as the previous Robert, although, according to TV21, certain modifications have been made to his inside as a result of suggestions from the XL5 crew.
To his inside?
His inside, yeah. Again, that's still no confirmation of whether the original TV series Robert had been lost. It was just TV21 inadvertently muddying the waters even more. Thanks, TV21. However, given how fond the XL5 crew clearly were of Robert, it's hard to believe that they would entertain the idea of replacing him unless something disastrous had happened that meant they'd had to do that. So there we are.
Gosh.
Not only did TV21 destroy Fireball XL5, they may have also accidentally thrown poor old Robert the Robot into a plot hole in the process.
Oh dear.
So,
What a shame. that such a thing should happen in a text story as well. We don't even get to see it because it is one of those iconic moments when a ship of that sort of legendary status, like your Enterprise or your Liberator in Blake 7, to see them being destroyed in the series is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah.
This just happened like in a text, like an afterthought,
and then it was blown up. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, but what do you think, Podsteron? Was Robert destroyed, or did he somehow make it back to Earth and was floating in space after the destruction of the main body? I mean, it seems like he was destroyed, and I guess in the flurry of activity, they just didn't mention him in the story.
Yeah. Gosh, that's harsh, isn't it?
So yeah, poor old Robert, eh?
Wow.